Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I hope you're enjoying these critique videos because I really enjoy making them. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like what I'm doing, and without further ado, let's get into the critiques of r/Artcrit. The reason this looks off to you is because the proportions. I don't know if you are going for a below perspective or not, but that's what it looks like you tried to achieve because of how the hips, thighs, and torso are so dummy thick. I would fix this by making the body more proportional to the head size, and always make sure you're looking at references if you're trying a weird or different pose or style. Also, Veronica Mayday can get it. Let's go! I don't have the reference picture for this one, so I'm going based on assumptions of proportions and stuff. So the eyes look a bit too small and too far apart. Eyes should be a full eye length apart from each other is what I've heard. With that, make them slightly bigger. Also, the nostrils don't seem to be the same size. It looks odd and asymmetrical. While symmetry isn't absolute and always necessary, I feel like this portrait could gain from it. The hair around her neck also looks way too choppy and straight. I think downloading some brushes that are particularly made to do hair would be the best thing for it. Personally, the brush you chose for most of this painting just doesn't work for me, but I tend to lean more towards the smooth textures in my art. Otherwise, I think you're doing pretty well. With this one, I really suggest you look at more references when you work on anatomy, and I'm going to say this a lot with every video I do probably on this whole critique thing that I'm doing, because the references are just really important when you're learning. The arms look very stiff, and the hands look like they are just copied and pasted on each side without having a natural pose. The shoulders look very broad, but you could have been trying to go for a more muscular character. Again, just look at references for the body types you're interested in drawing and draw from those. Don't trace, but draw what you see. Otherwise, I like the style that the head has. The facial features look proportional and decently symmetrical. Now, this one is interesting because you have a decent understanding of values along body parts and wrinkles of clothes, but the problem I see most clearly is that there are too many wrinkles in the shirt. I also can't really tell if you're going for realism or a slight anime style, and the eyes and nose seem more western or realistic or even kind of comic book style. Whatever you're going for, references will help you. I feel like I say that a lot, but it's true. People sometimes think references are cheating somehow, but I say you do what you think will help you improve. But of course, don't trace and call it your own. That's just a general rule of thumb. I'm not sure what you meant by trying a rough style. I'll assume you mean a rough, sketchy style, though, since I can see that you have your skeleton showing underneath the drawing. But I think it would be interesting if you let more of that sketchiness go through the coloring. On anatomy, the stance looks very stiff and blocky. I see a lot of straight lines, but you should consider using more curved lines in order to make more organic shapes. From the reference, everything looks good considering it's a rough sketch. I will say that the thigh facing the viewer looks a little short and thin. I think making it a bit thicker might help with the foreshortening, but foreshortening isn't exactly my forte in the first place. The style on this one is really nice. I wish I was this good at semi-realism. One thing that stands out though, the right eye, at least her right, looks like it's looking down and is maybe smaller. It may be a trick of the lighting in the picture, but otherwise I can't see much wrong with this if you're developing your own style. The values are definitely going somewhere, just add more darks and highlights, I think. The anatomy looks off in the face. Thinking about Marilyn Monroe, I think her face is a bit more rounded and her nose shouldn't be that big in the bridge. The shading and lighting is really nice on this. I only see a couple of anatomy issues though. One, I think the eyes are slanted a bit too much compared to the head. The eyes are arguably big too, but this is an anime inspired style, so I'm assuming, so I can forgive that. The last thing is that the foot in front is a little curved on the middle of the foot and looks a bit odd to me. I can't tell if this picture was taken at an odd angle or if this is a scanned image, but the whole thing is a bit slanted to the right. You went with a nice and interesting style though. I love the textures and brush strokes throughout the painting. Even the lighting is pretty nice. Keep up the great work. I picked one out of the 4 images, but they all looked kind of similar in style, so I thought it would work just to comment on this one. The anatomy kind of reminds me of Adventure Time, but the proportions are really off. The neck is a bit too short, the hair is really flat against the head, which isn't a great look for anyone, and keep in mind the way arms would fall next to the body. The arms look extremely long and noodly, and the body doesn't really contort this way in this pose. It looks really stiff and uncomfortable. Also, it looks like you drew this by drawing straight lines at a time, if that makes sense. I tend to draw out gesture lines and circles that place joints and rough muscles that define the human shape a little more. I'll comment mainly on the folds here since I keep making a lot of anatomy comments that might get repetitive, but think of what you want to do with the pose. Is she twirling around? Is she standing and showing off the dress? Is the dress falling down? It really depends on what you're going for. But whatever you do, think of how gravity will affect the fabric. I think you're going for showing off the dress, so I'll go with that idea. If she's just standing there and the dress is being held up by her hands, the folds will fall pretty straight down. You have a pretty good concept of them already, but think of how the dress is cut too. Is it a high-low, a ball gown? That kind of really determines how long the dress will be on all sides. Because of the dress being even on all sides on this, it looks like it would be cut like a box maybe instead of a circle. Again, keep looking at references for folds and the way the dress should fall. I love how colorful and saturated this painting looks. I'd say that the perspective is a bit off though. It looks like an odd lens was put over it that shifted the bridge, the man and the peacocks. I wonder if you were going for an aerial perspective considering the way the man and peacocks were positioned, but the way the trees and paths are placed, it just looks off somehow. I wish I could give you better critique than that, but I feel like I made a little sense there. As cute as this one is, the shading is inconsistent. I think you should add more shading to the skin and hair in order to match the level of the dress. And keep in mind that you might not want to use a lot of grays and blacks, primarily for the shading color though. It can be too harsh compared to all the pastels you used. I can tell you're going for that retro anime style. I actually really like the effects you put over the whole thing. It looks so professional and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. My only issue is that the arms look quite long and big compared to the head size. In anime styles, heads for female characters especially are a bit bigger. I say check out the 90s Sailor Moon in order to get a good grasp of the retro anime shoujo style that you're probably going for. The eyes are a bit boxy, though they remind me of how Sailor Pluto's eyes were shaped in that way. Maybe making them not as big or making them more rounded like Usagi's would help it not look as uncanny. Otherwise, I love the colors that you picked. I hate to say it, but the silhouette looks like something very inappropriate that I won't say, but if you know, you know. What's causing this, I think, is the way the person is posed. It's not very easy to tell how they're sitting because of how dark the values are. I understand it's supposed to be a bit edgy or event piece probably, but with the arms so close to the body, it's hard to figure out how they're posed. A silhouette should be a bit easier to figure out, so maybe move the arms outside of the body some more, if that makes sense. Okay, for this one, I'm honestly amazed because I thought this was just a picture of someone photoshopped onto a background. The understanding of shading, wrinkles, and pretty much everything is really impressive, but the stark blank background takes you out of the illusion that this could almost be a picture. Work on making backgrounds out because your style really has a lot of potential. I think you have a pretty good grasp on shading, but your placement of the facial features are really off. I would turn the eyes and nose a bit more toward the direction of the character's looking because it looks like their face is looking forward while their head is turned slightly. Their hairline looks a bit uneven too. I would round it out a bit more because right now it looks like it's trying to be an oval or rectangular shape almost. I hope this doesn't offend you, but the art style reminds me of Gaku and Handsome. If you know, you know. But like I told someone else earlier, you should work on using skeletons to sketch out your proportions and stuff. I also noticed that all the heads are facing forward. Don't be afraid to branch out and try 3/4 views or even side profiles. It's important to learn that so you don't have to keep everything so stiff and have basically the same poses. Alright, that's all for this month's video. I tried to go a little longer this time because if you're anything like me, you like having listenable content. But if you liked the video, show me by leaving a comment, like, share, and subscribe. If you really like it, you can support me in the links below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.